In this episode of Cyprus Diaspora Uncovered, industry leaders and human resources experts explore how Cyprus can strengthen its position as a global talent hub by attracting highly skilled professionals, encouraging the return of Cypriots from the diaspora, and creating opportunities for the next generation to build their careers on the island. The discussion examines innovative recruitment strategies, workforce development, talent retention, and the evolving role of HR in supporting Cyprus's future economy. Panellists also consider practical solutions to reverse brain drain, foster repatriation, and build a resilient, highly skilled workforce capable of driving sustainable economic growth. This panel discussion was recorded live at the Cyprus Diaspora Forum on May 7th, 2026 at the AMARA Hotel in Limassol, Cyprus.
Welcome everyone. Obviously, we'd like to thank everyone for being here, our panelists. So, today's discussion really will explore how Cyprus can position itself as a true talent, a talent hub, attracting global talent, whilst also bringing back Cypriots from abroad, and how HR strategies must evolve to support this. Now, we're going to look at it through sort of three main lenses: leadership, well-being, and belonging, and really see how these aspects can shape, the workforce of 2026 and beyond. So please allow me to introduce our panelists. You can see their lovely pictures up there as well, and they're here. So Konstantinos Litras. Konstantinos is a PCC ICF leadership coach and founder of Constant Growing. He has over 20 years of experience across business and operations. He works with founders, family businesses, and managers to move from daily pressure and constant execution to clear decisions, strong presence, and real influence. Konstantinos' work focuses on leadership identity, presence, and practical results that will last beyond today's session. We also have Christina Theodoulou. Christina is the founder of Wellness in Motion, a corporate wellness consulting focused on sustainable performance. She's an ACA qualified professional with a background at a Big Four and a certified wellness coach. She works with organizations to enhance employee well-being and performance through practical, evidence-based strategies that support long-term business outcomes. And we, of course, have Eleni Sava with us. Eleni is the founder and CEO of Empower Your Essence, a coaching company built on the idea that true success begins with self-understanding. With a multidisciplinary background spanning filmmaking, storytelling, and corporate consultancy, Eleni brings a rare ability to bridge human and the professional. She's also a TEDx speaker, curator, host, and coach, and has shaped not only talks, but transformations, guiding individuals to find their voice and stand in it with clarity and confidence. Her work challenges conventional approaches, and she helps individuals and organizations move beyond external success into alignment, authenticity, and purpose. I'll be your moderator for today. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Christiana Gyriagou. I'm the director of ICAP People Solutions. We're a leading global advisory firm, and we develop high-impact HR talent solutions across Cyprus, Greece, and Romania. So, let's sort of start our conversation today. Let's start a little bit with leadership. So, Konstantino, if I can start with yourself. Because things, as I said, do start with leadership. Every hiring decision, onboarding experience, and retention challenge, ultimately, begins here. So my first question to you, Konstantino, where do you see leaders in Cyprus getting it, most wrong today when it comes to hiring and onboarding, and how does that impact long-term retention? You've got a mic there.
Thank you, Christiana. Okay. Cannot hear my voice.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah,
great.
Okay.
Yeah, lovely.
So I see many leaders rush hiring people, and onboarding gets very administrative. Mm-hmm. So it's like picking a player for a football team that they're fast, but nobody tells them about the rules, about the positions, how a team plays. Mm-hmm. And then the coach says why they don't play well. Mm-hmm. So it's not only the player problem, also the coach did not prepare them well. Mm-hmm. So in order to overcome that, it's the fix is easy. You should hire slowly, be intentional, concentrate on mindset and behavior, and then everything will follow as planned. Retention will improve.
Okay, interesting.
Thank you.
So if Cyprus wants to attract and retain both sort of senior talent and sort of younger generations like Gen Z, what, fundamental shift do you feel that, leadership needs to make to facilitate this?
So the shift that needs to be made is from control to have empowering the employees. So what does that look like? Gen Z, they don't want to, they want to have a clear direction. And senior talent, they don't want to be micromanaged. They both want to be valued, respected, and appreciated for what they do. So this is what will retain Gen Z and senior talent.
Yeah. Okay, great. Christina, if perhaps I can sort of move a little bit into performance and well-being, because, attracting talent is one thing, but actually sustaining them and keeping them is clearly another thing altogether. So you yourself transitioned from a corporate career into one focusing on well-being. What did you see missing in organizations that you felt, perhaps made you make that shift? There's another one there, just so you know.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Christiana, for the question. So my background is in the corporate world. I worked as an ACA accountant in a Big Four firm. So I understand firsthand the pace, the pressure, and the expectations that come with high-performing environments. And while my mindset was very much focused back then on pushing harder, being more disciplined, and constantly performing, I realized that this could only work in the short term. And I started noticing in both myself and the people around me that something was missing. Yeah. And while performance was there was often at a cost. So whether it was this high stress, low energy, reduced focus, and eventually disengagement. And what I realized is that organizations were very much focused on results and output, but maybe not enough on how people can actually function. So things like energy, focus, and resilience. And that's where the shift started for me. I became interested in understanding more, not about performance itself, but what actually supports it day to day. And that led me into the wellness space, and I have created Wellness in Motion with a very clear focus, supporting high-performing individuals and teams to sustain their energy, sharpen their focus, and build resilience so that they can perform consistently over time. And today, the way I work with organizations is very much shaped to that corporate experience by using practical and realistic methods in order to be able to help people function well rather than adding more to their plate. Because ultimately, performance is not defined by how much we push today, but how sustainably we can make it over time.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. I mean, from your experience, what are the most practical ways organizations here in Cyprus can implement, wellness strategies that actually genuinely improve engagement and performance?
I think the starting point is to see what typically doesn't work. So a lot of organizations, including in Cyprus, they are approaching well-being as a one-off initiative. Yeah. So things like wellness days or yoga sessions and occasional seminars, they don't actually have a real integration into how people work every day. And while those initiatives can be valuable in raising awareness and starting the conversation, they don't translate into sustainable behavioral change and measurable business performance. So what makes a real difference is when organizations look at how people function day to day. And when we look at performance, it comes down to a few key fundamental things, like energy, focus, and the ability to manage pressure. And if those are not supported, they have a direct negative impact on mental clarity, decision-making, and overall effectiveness at work. So if these are not supported, if our people do not feel well physically, mentally, and emotionally, how do we expect them to perform their best at work, right?
Yeah.
That's why well-being is not a nice to have, it's a performance driver. And that's what we do in Wellness in Motion. And it is addressed across a key few areas. For example, supporting movement and physical resilience in order to improve daily energy levels, especially in environments where people are seated for long hours. Looking at nutrition for sustained focus in order to maintain concentration and have stable energy levels throughout the day. Also, supporting stress management and resilience, especially in high pressure periods, so that people can actually function well and maintain their performance. And also things like sleep and recovery have a direct impact on decision-making, mood, emotional regulation, and overall effectiveness at work. Because performance is not defined by one factor. It's multidimensional. It is defined by how all of these factors work together.
Lovely. No, great. Absolutely agree with that. So if we just sort of broaden the conversation to purpose, belonging, and the kind of bigger picture of talent attraction, which obviously is your area, Eleni, can I ask you, in your opinion, if Cyprus wants to reverse brain drain, what would you say makes it, ultimately to make it a destination of choice, rather than, just a feeling of I'm somehow coming to Cyprus, but I'm compromising on having that career, on having that perfect job, or perhaps what I had in the UK or the States or beyond. What would your suggestions sort of be there?
No, absolutely. It's a really good question, actually. Thank you for the question, and it's great to be here. And this particular question, I think I can resonate with myself as a returnee. And I think the key question I would ask is, why now? So, I mean, Cyprus is in itself, it's a paradise island. It's an asset, and it is full of so much potential. But if I relate it back to myself and what I see with other prospective returnees, it's what's changed on the island. And the answer that people are looking for is opportunity. So, and I guess this is what we have to, as organizations and as a country in itself, is dive deep into, unleashing that potential, especially in emerging growth markets. And at least this is something I had to see. Yeah. So that's one aspect of it. The other thing is, we have to bear in mind that most of these returnees, including myself, having spent 25 years abroad, and working in larger scale corporations, and in most cases, a variation of regions like EMEA or APAC. So your level of expertise has expanded throughout time. You have evolved as a human being. So one of the questions I was asking myself, and guys, it took me the best part of 7 years to make this decision, because every time I thought, I want to go back home. And I asked those questions, okay, has Cyprus changed? Is it growing? And I think one of the key questions that I asked myself was, am I going to shrink when I get here?
Yeah.
Will my work matter here? Will I grow or will I plateau? And will I be seen for the person I've become? Mm-hmm. And I think one of the key questions we need to ask ourselves is, are we going to allow the system to expand to include international talent, or do we have to shrink to fit the system? Mm-hmm. Because the majority of people don't resist the possibility of returning home, but they, in my opinion, they resist the idea of becoming smaller than, than they've grown in time. So, yeah.
Good. Okay, wonderful. I know you speak a lot about, moving from retention to belonging. What does that actually look like in a practical capacity inside organizations?
Okay, so from a coaching perspective, having coached organizations and employees and individuals, there's always two kind of contracts. Mm-hmm. There's the formal one, and then there's the emotional one. Mm-hmm. However, it's the emotional one that holds all the leverage, okay? And I'm sure you see this with your line of work as well. So, and that will determine whether or not someone wants to stay or they want to leave. Mm-hmm. And from what I see on a day-to-day basis, the majority of people will stay if they feel that they're seen, if they're heard, if they're valued, if their contributions have mattered within their workspace, and they leave when they are undervalued, or they feel invisible, or they're part of a favoritist culture, which can happen. But I guess if we dive a little bit deeper, it's looking at things like meaning, growth, and recognition.
Yeah.
But if I had to really put my dollar on this, it would be honest leadership, because the problem always starts from the head.
Yeah.
And if without that, you've kind of got an organization that doesn't really know what it wants to do with itself. And I think the best thing we can do is coach the managers. Yeah. This is where coaching from all aspects, and from Konstantinos and from Christiana, they marry really well together, because a lot of people have been put in these positions. I want you to manage 50 odd people or 100 people, or I want you to manage a region, but no one's actually taught you how to do that. And every people, whether they're employees or whether they're just, a simple person in a coffee shop, one key thing they want is to be heard. So it's asking the right questions, and that's what coaching is all about. Yeah. You design really thought-provoking questions, and you get your answers through those answers. So that's what
wonderful. No, that's really interesting. And you obviously are very similar spaces, but they all sort of interlink. So it'd be nice to kind of bring those perspectives together. Costantino, if I can ask you, based on, our discussion and what you've heard, for you, what are most retention sort of challenges actually leadership failures at their core?
First of all, I have to say this, Eleni needs to drop the mic. She covered all aspects of leadership. So leadership, retention is reflected on leadership. And Eleni covered quite a lot of there. And what we need is prepare the leaders, train the leaders, the next leaders, the middle managers to handle the people. These managers come from a functional side, but they don't really know how to manage. Yeah. So that training really needs to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think anyone who's holding leadership roles is born a leader. It's a key skill which some people, of course, have a natural disposition to it, but you need to learn how to be a leader, and that is something that a lot of companies here perhaps a little bit behind. And obviously, with the assistance of specialist coaches and support externally, they can obviously, develop, and it's critical. Wonderful. Thank you for that. Christina, from a well-being perspective, again, because obviously that's your area of expertise, do you feel that well-being now is really a true differentiator in attracting talent, or is it just sort of a baseline expectation? Because I think there has been a shift that, lots of talk about well-being, the importance of well-being. We all know it, definitely in the last few years and since COVID. But, is it sort of being overused as a concept? Is it really the differentiating factor, or is it just being sort of used, sort of as in an attractive way to seem like an employer that cares about their people?
It's an interesting question. Yeah. So I think it's both, but in different ways. Mm-hmm. Well-being has been increasingly seen as a baseline expectation, especially for younger generations and high-performing individuals. Mm-hmm. People are paying much more attention now to how they experience work rather than just the title, role, and compensation. Mm-hmm. But where organizations really differentiate is not in saying they're supporting well-being, is in how they implement it. Because many organizations communicate well-being as one of their priorities, but the question is whether this is embedded to the day-to-day experience of employees. And an important shift we're seeing is that well-being is no longer seen as reactive, something we address after burnout and disengagement has occurred, but as a reactive approach in order to create a positive, safe work environment where people can feel valued, motivated, and able to work effectively within their team. Because if we wait until performance drops and people start to burn out, we're already too late. Yeah. And we're also seeing this reflected globally. The wellness economy now is estimated at over $6 trillion. And in more developed markets, well-being is increasingly being integrated into company culture as a part of how people operate and perform. So I think there's a real opportunity for markets like Cyprus to move in that direction as well, especially if the goal is to attract and retain high-quality talent. And organizations that get this right, they do not just attract talent. They retain it, they keep it engaged, and they get more consistent performance from it over time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we definitely see it from a hiring perspective and from a talent perspective, particularly Gen Z, it's expected. It's not, it's something that they ask when they're being interviewed. They actually, wanting to know the environment, the culture, does the employer care? Those qualities, perhaps in our generation, not giving our ages away, of course,
times change.
Times change and have moved, thankfully, that it's not, just kind of climb the corporate hierarchy and at the expense of your own well-being and health many times. Many people have experienced those pressurized times, burnout, and actually deciding that is that what, I want my life to be, my working career to be. So I think that's definitely very, very interesting and very, very true. Great. Thank you, Christina. Thank you. For you, Eleni, do you feel organizations create real belonging without first getting leadership and well-being right? Or are these the foundations ultimately?
Another interesting question. And I think the best way to answer it, I love using analogies. I do this with coaching. I do this with my friends. And I try and look at it from a completely different perspective. In this case, let's assume you have an amazing orchestra. Mm-hmm. Okay. Your musicians, and this orchestra has the most incredible musicians. Mm-hmm. That's your talent. Mm-hmm. You could even have the most mind-blowing music score, okay? Mm-hmm. That's your wellness. Mm-hmm. But without the proper conductor, none of it will be absolutely will fall. It won't land the way it should. It
won't synchronize as you want it.
Yeah. And the belonging aspect of that analogy is how you're left feeling in the room once the music has landed. It's the essence. Mm-hmm. So in my opinion, it's not the byproduct. It's the signal. So
absolutely, absolutely. Great. And just sort of for all of you really, so if Cyprus wants to compete, globally for talent, what is the one mindset shift organizations should make? If we sort of take it down the line, Costantino, from your perspective.
So leaders should stop asking how do we attract them. They should ask how do we retain them. So if you would like to invite people to your house, you will use some nice words. They will come. But if you want them to come again, they need to feel welcome, respected, and comfortable, right? So the same thing happens at work. So the employees need to feel respected and appreciated, and all the good things that my fellow panelists mentioned to retain. Again, I would like to close my concept with that. Have you prepared your leaders to prepare their teams?
Yeah. Good. Excellent. Lovely. Christina, what about yourself?
I think if I had to choose one mindset shift, it would be this: to moving from viewing people as resources that drive performance to understanding that performance is driven by how well people are able to function. Because globally, the organizations that stand out are not the ones that demand high performance, but the ones that supports the environments to enable it.
Excellent. And yourself, Eleni?
I love what Costantino and Christina said, and I'll just echo that. It's a mindset shift, and Cyprus needs to start changing the way they position it, the way they frame it. And I'm also an NLP practitioner, so wording is quite key here. It's not how do I control my people, it's how do I trust them, and it's also how do I develop them, how do I let them grow. And even simple things which I use within my own organization, managing my team as well, I never use language like you work for me, you work with me. Sometimes it's just asking simple questions to people, makes them feel empowered.
Do you think companies are ready for this? From your experience on the ground?
I think they have to be ready for this. It's not an option anymore. It's something that they have to start, taking into consideration, and start yesterday.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Totally agree. Great. So thank you so much. I think it's always nice, since we've got an audience. Is there anyone from the audience that has questions? Yeah. Perhaps we can give a mic. Oh, thanks, Marima. It's always nice, if you want to give your name, it's always nice to introduce yourself.
Congratulations. My name is Varvara and I live in Australia.
Lovely.
And I've been in those roles that all of you talked about. And what I'm interested in is to know whether there are any organisations in Cyprus that have got internal health and well-being program managers or recruiters, because my best job was as a health and well-being program manager for a large organisation in Melbourne. Okay. So my question is, I've been in recruitment, health and well-being, and then...
So you've done all our jobs, basically.
All Excellent. So I'm interested to find out what's happening in large organisations here in Cyprus. Thank you.
I mean, what I would just add to that is we're definitely seeing from a recruitment, seeing it from an organisational standpoint. You did graduate. Great. Well, we always need our graduates. We all started from somewhere, didn't we? There's definitely been a shift in chief wellness officers, chief happiness officers. I've even heard of. That's not many. We don't have many. At least what we've seen I can say it from an external sort of recruitment perspective. I think companies are trying. The reality is the wellness, at least, is very much part of the HR. And it should sit with HR, absolutely. But being a separate, dedicated function, you are seeing companies moving to having dedicated people. It's normally just part of the broader HR function, and someone within is taking on those responsibilities. I think that will definitely shift, though. I'm not sure from your experiences if you feel the same or something different. We've got a well-being guru, so Christina.
Hello there. Thank you for the question. So I think Cyprus is still in the...
No, it's working.
Is in the introductory phase of all of this. As Christiana very well said, it's been wellness. It's been seen as part of the HR department, but it is better. It is much more advised that it's a separate function, because when people feel that it's part of the company, they might not be able to actually fully be comfortable to disclose some confidential information. So if an external party is there for them, that it is independent, working with the company, so collaborating with HR and talking to the people, I think the people are going to feel much more safe and willing to actually take up on this service that is offered. Yeah. And in my own experience, I believe that this will enable people to actually feel better, learn how to manage their day and have more energy. And this, of course, will come back at the organization with stronger productivity and better business output. So it's a win-win.
Yeah. Eleni, do you have something to add there?
I loved something that Christina just said, is finding external coaches, wellness coaches, and she's bang on the money there. If you outsource this, because I'm sure that in all three of us, we see this on a daily basis, it's a confidentiality issue. And with coaching, you have to abide by that. When HR comes into the picture, unfortunately, and I see this as a former employee myself, I never felt I could fully open up and express how it is I'm feeling, whether or not it's wellness I need or whatever aspect of coaching or leadership I need. It's understanding that you're in a safe place to express that need. So I think one key thing, as Christina rightly pointed out, is outsourcing that part of the business. And absolutely, it will come back and help the company and help it grow.
Yeah.
You had both.
Sorry, we had both. That personal staff was outsourced, and we had counselling services. It was called the Employee Assistance Program, you know that. But me as a health and wellbeing program manager, and I think you've all alluded to, is the culture. So I ran a lot of educational programs for managers and the employees around not only the physical, emotional, I was dipping deep into how the organizational culture affects the health and well-being of the employees. That was difficult to do, especially with people at the top. But I worked closely with the diversity area and the HR, and that's how we did it. It was very popular. For me, it was the best job, 8 years. I developed it after I experienced what you did, Eleni, and developed that role. So initially, people said, oh, we can't really create a role like that. But with time, it proved on, and the manager, who was not very willing to have this, he says, you can have this role as long as you like it. So it was great.
Yeah. I think it's great that you've obviously got the international experience being in Australia. Yeah. Which is great because,
But it's incredible that they engineered a role for you.
Because,
like we say in English, proof of the pudding's in the eating.
Yeah.
So you've just got to show them.
Yeah, the value of it. When they see the value.
Once they see the value, it's game over.
No, absolutely. I think that's absolutely the case. And I think what's testament here is, you mentioned it yourself, Varvara, you're from Australia, more sophisticated, larger markets, people coming from the diaspora, coming from abroad with these experiences, with this knowledge and bringing it back to Cyprus. So many people go and study. It could be studies, it could be working with international people, but, we have an advantage the benefit of hindsight is a beautiful thing. Cyprus is a little bit behind, but that is also an opportunity to take these things, to take these great experiences from abroad and to bring them back. Can I just ask, on that topic of well-being, Christina, you mentioned obviously about outsourcing, and there is perhaps elements of the well-being which, again, I see it from a recruitment perspective. Sometimes it's confused with, having nice coffee, having nice perks, that's nice, but that's not well-being. They're confusing it. They think, because we give them, Friday beers or, coffee and fruit, that's, I'm looking after. It helps. It's part of the environment. But, obviously what you're talking about is far more sophisticated. There are elements which could sit in HR. I'm just thinking here, the emotional side. Do you feel there is a place for it being handled in-house? Because could there be conflict there? For example, if an employee's, going through a bit of a depressed period or having some issues at home, maybe they're scared to actually go to HR, and have, a discussion. Could be seen as a weakness. Maybe they'll see it as they're not focused at work, and maybe that's seen as a, have we got a red flag? That's the right word actually to use. You'd like to think it wouldn't be, but you never know. So maybe that's why they don't talk. Do you think ultimately there is a place for well-being being handled in-house? And if it was, who would take ownership of it?
In my opinion, I think it would be best to assign one role to one party and the other to concentrate on their role. Because when we talk about wellness, well-being, it is about 6 factors. Mm-hmm. It's about movement, nutrition, mental and emotional well-being, stress, sleep, and recovery. So all of these work together to give us our own well-being. So I believe it will be better to have an external independent party to handle all of this, to help people understand what is stress, what happens to my body physically when I feel stress, how can I control it? If I'm sitting for long hours, what do I feel? I feel pain, tension, fatigue, discomfort. How can I change it? When I have a large unhealthy meal, what happens to my concentration? If I don't sleep well, what's the consequence on concentration the next day? So people are more self-aware, and it starts with self-awareness, but self-awareness only makes a change if it is turned into action.
Absolutely. No, you're spot on. Absolutely. So I think in terms of sort of just wrapping things up, unless there's anyone who has any other questions, no, is I think the real opportunity for Cyprus here lies with, not just how organizations, manage, lead, support their people, but it's actually creating real environments, enticing and correct environments where their people can not only stay, but choose to return, where they can continue their careers and really where they can develop and thrive. So thank you so much to my fellow panelists. It's been a pleasure. Thank you to everyone. And if you have any questions or anyone wants to ask any of the panelists, of course, you're welcome to reach out to any of them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you. Good. Okay.
Thank you for listening to Cyprus Diaspora Uncovered. Subscribe to our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts for more inspiring conversations that are shaping Cyprus's global future. You can also explore more episodes on our website and selected video interviews on our YouTube channels.